No, he does not.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anybody to send out there.
Okay.
Obviously, if he comes inside the residence and assaults you, can you ask him to go away, or do you know if he's intoxicated or anything?
I've already asked him. I've already told him I was calling you. He's spoken before, busted down my door, assaulted me. Yeah, so...
Is there any way you can safely leave the residence?
Imagine being in a position where you feel you are in danger. Your life is being threatened, and not just by some random person, but by a person who has hurt you before, so you know the threat is valid. Now imagine they put you in the hospital a few weeks prior, and now it's early in the morning, it's dark outside, and you're home alone. This person that put you in the hospital also had broken your phone. You were able to get a new one, however, none of your contacts transferred over. So you call the one number that you know by heart who will send someone to help you, as their entire motto is to serve and protect, and they will always show up to stop someone from hurting you. Now imagine dialing 911 thinking you're going to have a few officers at your house to come protect you from harm within a few minutes. But after the dispatcher takes your information, instead of saying, "Help is on the way, try to remain safe until they get there," they say, "So sorry, too bad, so sad, no one's coming, and you're on your own." Imagine the defeat and helplessness in making a call that should have resulted in comfort, but instead being told over and over,
I don't have anybody to send out there.
While you have to sit there and listen to this person intending to harm you, pry at your windows and doors, attempting to gain entry, while screaming that they're going to hurt you once they're able to get in, and you know they will make good on this threat. Michael Bellah does not seem to be someone who was in a good place mentally or in life matters. Being from the small town of Cavejunction in Oregon, he didn't have much of a chance. Cavejunction is a very small town in southern Oregon with a population of only a few thousand people. The crime rates in Cavejunction are almost 3 per thousand, but with a population of only 2,000 people, that is pretty significant. Just for a quick comparison, Portland, Oregon, the largest city in Oregon, has a crime rate of almost 8 per thousand, but they have a population that is 320 times the population of Cavejunction, and the crime rate is only a little more than double. The reason for the crime rate in Cavejunction is that they are a small city and too small to have a police force there. So the sheriff of Josephinecounty and the state police are the only entities that patrol Cavejunction, and they're not a consistent presence, which leaves this town pretty much able to do whatever they want. Oregon has legalized the growing and distribution of marijuana, but before the legalization of marijuana, Cavejunction was a huge illegal grow area. Almost every plot of land there is about 10 acres plus and off the beaten path, paired with minimal law enforcement presence and being it's a small town in general, make it a perfect place to grow. I am assuming most of you have seen documentaries or shows about how growing is operated, so you likely have an idea why this small town has a history of violent crime. There are comments made on Michael Bellah's Facebook page about pill popping, having groggy mornings, suicidal ideation, and some harsh situations that were occurring in his life back in 2011. Bellah seems to have children that he was not allowed to see, and he was in an on-again, off-again toxic relationship. Some of his posts include the toxic nature of his relationship, as the last post he made was a giant apology for calling her names and making bad comments about her online, also admitting that he was in fact the one at fault for everything he had blamed her for. Some of these bad comments included racial slurs, calling her new boyfriend, who was of Hispanic descent, a bean, and in this apology post he also mentioned beating him up and pushing her to the ground and spitting on her. So Michael obviously had some stuff going on in his life and was not a great person for quite some time. Other comments he had made insinuated that his kid's mother was on drugs and he wasn't sure how the kids were being kept from him when she was a junkie. There may have been some mutual toxicity in his relationships, but other parties also being toxic does not make Bellah a good guy by any means. Fast forward to 2012 when this famous 911 call was made where the caller stated Michael Bellah was trying to break into her home and assault her. Also that she was in the hospital just a few weeks prior due to him breaking in and assaulting her. The response from 911 and the fact that he did in fact gain entry and assault her again because the police sent no one to help her is what propelled this case into nationwide news.
911 emergency. My ex-boyfriend is trying to break into my house. I'm not letting him in, but he's tried to break down the door and he's trying to break into one of the windows. He hurt me in the hospital a few weeks ago, and I've been trying to keep him away. I told him I was going to call. He's now trying to break in through the window. He's trying to jimmy it open.
Okay. Do you have anybody else in the house with you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Does he live there?
No, he does not.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anybody to send out there.
Okay.
Obviously, if he comes inside the residence and assaults you, can you ask him to go away, or do you know if he's intoxicated or anything?
I've already asked him. I've already told him I was calling you. He's spoken before, busted down my door, assaulted me. Yeah, so...
Is there any way you can safely leave the residence?
No, I can't, because he's blocking pretty much my only way out.
With a vehicle, or?
With the vehicle and with himself on my front door also.
Okay, is there anybody that you can call to come over and help you, or do you have any friends?
He has sat there and destroyed my phone that had all of my contacts in it because I have neighbors. Because he's done this, I can't get a hold of my neighbors. I don't know what their phone numbers are. I just had to get a new phone.
Okay. Well, the only thing I could do is give you some advice and call the sheriff's office tomorrow. Obviously, if he comes in and unfortunately has a weapon or is trying to cause you physical harm, that's a different story. The sheriff's office doesn't work up there. I don't have anybody to send.
Okay.
And we don't dispatch for him. Like I said, it's an unfortunate situation.
Okay, but I'll have to take care of myself, I guess.
Well, you have every right to do that. I can't tell you what to do, but is he still there?
Yes, he is.
Okay. All right. Well, do you want to stay on the phone with me until we figure out what he might do, or can you ask him to leave?
I've asked him to leave a million times.
Okay, but he does not live there with you. Is that what you're saying?
He does not.
Okay. Has he lived there previously?
No.
Okay. Where is he now?
He's now outside my bedroom window.
Does he know that you're on the phone?
I don't know. If I can hear him screaming and yelling, I think he can hear me on the phone. I told him I was going to, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care because he knows that no one's out here, and so...
Yeah, and like I said, it's definitely unfortunate. What's his name?
Michael Bellah.
Bella?
Bellah.
And how old is he?
He's 29.
Is he a white male?
Yes.
Do you know if there's anybody with him?
Oh, no, there's no one with him.
When did you guys break up?
We have broken up 5 billion times, and he hurt me in the hospital a few weeks ago, and I've been trying to keep him away.
Do you have a restraining order?
I do not, because he would leave me alone until basically on the weekends, and then he starts his crap again.
Okay.
The caller's name is blanked out of all news outlets and reports as she is a sex crime victim. It is unknown if the woman from the tape is a new girlfriend or if his plea on Facebook worked and this is the same girl from his post, as the Facebook post was made in 2011 and this incident occurred in August of 2012. The biggest slap in the face about this case is the reason why 911 sent no one to help this woman, and it infuriates me so much because all of the news outlets that have covered this story act like this was some new thing happening in Josephine County, and like this girl could have been saved if the community would have just done the right thing and opted for their taxes to be raised. Then there would have been enough funding to have properly staffed law enforcement agencies, and they would have had the manpower to send her help. But I actually used to live in the area where this occurred. I was living there way before this incident, but this same issue of having no funding and no law enforcement was an issue way back then, and it had been taking place for about a decade, I want to say, and started back around 2006 to my knowledge. I actually had my car stolen when I lived there, and I solved the case myself. I got my car back within a few days, no thanks to them, and I didn't even have someone come out to take the report until I had already gotten my car back. So I'm not saying that getting your car stolen is like a huge big deal, but it's generally something. When you call the police, they send someone out and you file a report. It doesn't take days and days and days. Every news report about this case makes it sound like this is just something that happened a few months prior to this incident, but it had been going on for years. What news reports say is that some type of federal claim to timber sales made the tax hike necessary to have funding for the county, which included funding for public servants. There are no sales taxes in the state of Oregon, and Oregon is number 23 out of 50 states with the highest property taxes in the U.S. The state of Oregon and individual counties try to implement some form of new tax or tax hike every voting term, and every time they're shot down. There's a little statement we all know: taxation is theft, and Oregon is one of the very few places that have been able to keep sales tax from plaguing the state, making costs of living even more outrageous. And for this, the government and public officials who rely on tax hikes to fatten their pockets decided they were going to make the people pay since they were shot down again. Instead of implementing programs to increase revenue, all states and counties seem to be hyper-focused on only increasing existing taxes and creating new taxes. So when they failed in Josephine County to gain the amount of votes needed to further tax their residents, the answer was to make them pay for this decision by taking away the majority of law enforcement. This created a chain reaction as criminals started having a field day doing whatever they wanted to do with no repercussions. The law enforcement agencies in Josephine County even started having a business hours recording when you called 911, letting both those in need of help and those breaking the law know that help is only now available from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and it was well known the sheriff's office only had a force of 4 individuals now. Again, this did not just happen in 2012. This had already been going on for years, and the sheriff at the time even made a public statement that domestic violence victims should consider relocating to an area with more resources. This unfortunate event where Michael Bellah was able to harass, terrify, and assault this girl multiple times is not isolated or even the worst event that has occurred there. I remember hearing reports of bodies being found in the streets, theft, assaults, drug usage, all skyrocketed, and this went on for years. It was not until about 2014, after they found the new thing they could tax. In 2014, the legalization of marijuana took place, giving Oregon a 20% tax on all marijuana sales, and there is a dispensary on almost every street corner there now. They also implemented something called a luxury tax, where they did things like put taxes in place on tanning salons. They also hiked up taxes on things like cigarettes and alcohol. And a few years after the legalization and extreme taxing on marijuana in Josephine County, they could finally properly staff their law enforcement agencies again, and crime began to come down. But there was a good decade that the people were just doing whatever they wanted to with no repercussions. Robert Cobb provides a new perspective on this incident with Michael Bellah and how he was able to assault this girl because, quote, no one was available to send. Cobb called out the truthfulness to this statement and claims that Josephine County seemed to have ample resources to send out, as they had agents to arrest a grandma for being a grower for medicinal use marijuana for a doctor's office. This case did happen 2 years before marijuana was legalized in Oregon, but before the statewide legalization for recreational use, it was legal to grow and distribute to those who had a medical prescription card from their doctor. You had to be licensed to grow, and there were restrictions on the amounts you could grow, and it could only be distributed to those with a prescription, making it medicine. According to Cobb, there was a joint task force in Oregon of over 70 law enforcement officers, including the few members of the Josephinecounty law enforcement agencies, that conducted raids across Oregon, resulting in the arrest of a grandma growing medicine for patients, while a woman was left terrified and alone to be brutally assaulted again by Michael Bellah. Can you imagine calling 911 terrified, knowing if this man got into your house, it would at very least be an assault and possibly death? To be told by them that, "I'm so sorry, you're on your own," but then finding out later on that they did have the ability to pull resources to arrest an old lady for doing something that she was legally allowed to do, and then the agencies who failed you coming back with an answer of, "Why don't you just move away to stay safe?" The most appalling thing comes down to this had to do just with money. It was basically a county punishing their citizens with assault, theft, drug usage, and death because they said no to something that shouldn't even exist. The next Monday, sometime during law enforcement business hours, they were able to finally send someone to arrest Michael Bellah for viciously assaulting the woman on the 911 call. Once Bellah finally gained entry to her home by using a pry bar and busting her door, he beat her, choked her, and raped her, and for this, Michael Bellah remains in prison. But it seems those who allowed this to happen to her did not get punished at all. The powers that be kept their reasoning of no funding, making them exempt from responsibility of letting this woman be brutally attacked. Michael Bellah is definitely the bad guy in this story. If he wasn't there to assault her in the first place, there would have been no issue. But just like with murder cases, when you know it happened and do nothing, you're an accomplice. So how is knowing an assault is going to take place, the location, the people involved, and just sitting back and letting it happen not make them equally responsible? And that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed hearing my perspective on this famous case as much as I enjoyed telling it. If you haven't already and you did enjoy the story, like, love, and make sure to check out the previous stories I have posted. Also, if you enjoyed this story or any others I have, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a future installment. Feel free to share with anyone who enjoys less than well-known dark reality stories, and leave a comment or let me know if there are any stories that you would personally like me to research and cover. Have a great weekend.